Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much for having me again. So I will share the screen. So I'd like to, in this opportunity, I'm pleased to introduce some UN Habitat projects in Asia and the Pacific region, which might be a good starting point to think about how to realize and implement the new strategic plan. For example, we have implemented many housing projects, mainly in the context of reconstruction and resilient housing. Then in my ending, I'd like to introduce an interesting new approach, public-private partnership for project development and implementation. Before introducing concrete examples, let me briefly explain common characteristics of our projects in Asia and the Pacific. UN Habitat Regional Office for Asia and the Pacific region pioneered and has engaged with transformative development methodology, what we call the people's process, since 1990s. The people's process is a structural framework that places people's needs and their rights at the heart of urban development. Our strategy is to increasingly support the institutionalization and the mainstreaming of the people's process to impact on municipal, provincial, and national urban policies. People's participation, integrated planning, and collaboration between organizations such as community development councils are approaches that our office has been promoting in all our projects in Asia Pacific. We have implemented operational projects and produced several normative guidelines to elaborate the people's process. The principle of Build Back Better approach was also consistently promoted by reconstructing housing in resilient way. Many projects also have an element of capacity building to enhance resilience. Another common characteristic is gender-sensitive approach through female participation and empowerment, capacity building for people, for example, through training of construction method, and the utilization of local construction method and materials that leads to low-cost housing in most cases and assures sustainability. Hands-on experience with several large construction projects in collaboration with member states has given UN Habitat an opportunity to assist the affected people rebuild their lives rapidly, while providing a platform to advocate for progressive policies on recovery, reconstruction, and development. Now I'd like to introduce concrete projects in the region, starting from post-disaster reconstruction project. So this project in Cambodia is a typical example of our reconstruction project. The flood in 2018 affected a city in the lower Mekong region. The people's process was applied, promoting the community member participation in housing reconstruction process. To build back better, 202 affordable and climate-resilient housings were reconstructed by using sustainable and affordable local materials, as well as local construction knowledge and skills. 172 carpenters and construction workers have been trained on construction method to enhance housing resilience. The project promoted women's empowerment and participation by ensuring more than 50% of female membership in the Community Development Committee. Next is a post-conflict reconstruction project. So this is a project of Philippines. The 5-month conflict in 2017 destroyed almost entire commercial district of Marawi City, and as many as 60,000 people became internally displaced persons. The project aimed to help conflict-affected and internally displaced persons by providing permanent shelters and livelihood support. People's process engaged the affected community in all processes from site identification, site planning, to resilient housing design, construction, and monitoring, as well as in the livelihood that they will establish. As a result, low-cost housing method that's sensitive to the local culture was adopted. 1,000 permanent housings were constructed while providing support for community infrastructure for basic services. Tenant rights were digitally mapped and registered in social tenant domain model database, contributing to clarification of land tenant. As introduced in my keynote speech, Asia and the Pacific are disaster-prone region. Not only reconstruction, but also preventive measures are quite important. So we have been engaged with projects for climate change adaptation and the disaster risk reduction, mostly thanks to long-term support from Adaptation Fund. So this is an example of ongoing projects in Cambodia. In target areas, strong winds affected most of the housings. The strong winds posed a greater threat to housing, property, finance, and the lives of the poor and marginalized people. The capacity building on resilient housing construction technique targets unskilled and semi-skilled community residents. Then the project recruits trained residents instead of external construction companies. The project also plans to promote the participation of young architects in housing design and construction. And I'd like to introduce an informal settlement upgrading projects. This is an example of project in Myanmar, mainly aiming for enhancing access to safe water. Japanese SME, small and medium enterprise, provided technical support in the project. So this is an interesting example of mobilization of a private company in our project. Lastly, we have also engaged in regional level initiatives. Since 2020, UN Habitat is supporting the ASEAN Secretariat to implement the ASEAN Sustainable Urbanization Strategy. Housing and home is identified as one of the key priority areas for ASEAN cities to foster sustainable urban development. Under this project, UN Habitat has been promoting research and advocacy on housing. So this is a slide. Then I'd like to introduce a new interesting project, though it's not implemented in Asia Pacific region. This case is a public-private partnership for project development and implementation. This project is ongoing post-conflict reconstruction project in Iraq. Since the conflict, over 1 million Iraqis have been living in difficult conditions as internally displaced persons. The biggest obstacle to returning home are housing, infrastructure, employment, and security. This project aims at building an apartment complex and public infrastructure and facilities for the benefit of approximately 10,000 people. Construction-related vocational training are to be provided to 200 returnees, of which are more than 80 are women, and they are employed by local construction companies contracted by the project. Awareness-raising activities on climate change will be conducted for more than 2,000 people in the local community, of which more than 800 are women. Capacity building is to be implemented for the Iraqi government, including master planning and beneficiary selection. An interesting point is this project is a teamwork of public, private, and civil sectors. The donor is Japanese government, and the UN Habitat implements the project in partnership with the government of Iraq. The official development aid financially supports the construction of housing complex. However, side facilities such as playground and public toilets are financially supported by Japanese private companies. So Japanese companies' technology and know-how are incorporated into the project design. Japanese NGO provide vocational training and climate change awareness raising workshop based on their expertise. All sectors from Japan collaborate together for contributing to the people of Iraq, and therefore the project is named Japan Village to symbolize all Japan approach. to explore more opportunities like this Iraq project, as we are based in Fukuoka, Japan, we will establish a networking platform in Tokyo and Fukuoka City called Platform for Sustainable Cities in Asia and the Pacific. We shall establish this platform in April. So this platform is to raise awareness of the needs of sustainable urban development in Asia Pacific region, as well as UN Habitat mission and activities. And also, it's to facilitate partnership with cities in Asia Pacific region. And most of all, it's to enhance networking of public, private, academic, and civil sectors in Japan to contribute to sustainable urban development in Asia Pacific region. More than 20 private companies with diverse technology and know-how already expressed their will to participate in the platform in both Tokyo and Fukuoka cities. As I said in the keynote speech, cross-sectoral partnership is important. So in some countries, including Lao PDR and Nepal, national urban platforms have been established. We also support platform building in each Asia Pacific country, as housing and urban policy is intrinsically cross-sectoral. So thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Ishika-san. Thank you very much for your